Most of America never saw Roger Grimsby deliver the news, but anyone who has seen a local newscast in the last 20 years has seen the effect he had on the industry. Grimsby anchored the news on WABC here in New York for over 16 years, and during the 1970s he helped develop what has become known, sometimes derisively, as the Happy Talk format. He died last week at the age of 66, and there was a memorial service for him in town last night. A number of people on the staff here worked with Grimsby, but we hadn't really intended to do any kind of tribute to him. It seemed too personal, too inside. But as we were looking for something else, Apollo 13 stuff if you must know, we found a portion of a Grimsby newscast from 1970, and watching it, we realized just what an impact he and his on-air team had. Maybe it won't look that much different from what you've come to expect at 6 and 11, but we thought you might find it interesting to see the originals in action. As Roger himself used to put it, here now, the news.
Governor Rockefeller has signed legislation which divides Manhattan into 6 school districts. He set May 28th as a date for election of community school boards in each of the 6, calling the bill one of the most significant and important he's ever signed. At Newark City Hall Monday, it's evident that somebody didn't know the gun was loaded if there was a gun. Newark Councilman Anthony Imperiale was involved in the incident. Today he listened as Milton Lewis read a patrolman's report on the loud report. And then he had this comment.
After shaking hands with Mr. Imperiale, he gave me a hug and said, "I'm a white militant." Then I heard the noise and I saw a gun on the floor. That's all I remember.
Well, I don't want to dispute the officer who works in the mayor's office. And I want you to know one thing, that Mrs. West has me reports there was no gun.
Well, Mr. Imperiale, let me ask you flatly, did you have a gun with you that day at City Hall?
Milt, let me tell you flatly and honestly, I did not have a gun and I don't carry one to City Hall.
Imperiale is a candidate for mayor of Newark. He told Milt Lewis he has that race locked up. If you don't like carrying your coloring book, how about putting it on wheels? Eyewitness News correspondent John Schubeck was intrigued by that possibility with this result.
This car started off as a brand new 1970 Volkswagen, a white one without the black markings. But when public relations wizards get an idea, not even bad weather can stop them. The car was a gift from Volkswagen to the man with the magic marking shtick there. He's Peter Max. Look how Peter draws. Some would say he's making nutty designs, that maybe the car looked better without the touch-up. But this customizing is part of Peter Max. As for the finished bug here, should you see it rolling around the streets of New York this summer, you understand that the artwork was not done in Germany. This is John Schubeck reporting for Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
The labor situation. Updating those stories, Bill Aylward.
The New York Publishers Association today negotiated with 4 of the 10 unions involved in the newspaper talks in New York. The deadline set by the unions for strike has long passed, of course. About the most optimistic item to report is that people are talking in the dispute and no one is walking out. In Washington, an agreement in the postal talks was reached this evening. Of course, there had been a great deal of interest in the negotiations from letter carriers and National Guardsmen. The postal workers had threatened to go out at midnight tonight. They received a 14% pay raise. No doubt the mailmen are happy.
In Boston, no one knows where the notes are on the secret inquiry into the death of Mary Jo Kopechne. Miss Kopechne was killed when Senator Edward Kennedy's car went off a bridge at Chappaquiddick. The inquest was secret, all the documents impounded. But UPI reports that the notes have not been impounded and cannot be found. If they are lost, it could impair the value of the transcript of the inquiry as evidence. And now looking at sports, here's Howard Cosell.
Thank you, Roger. Today I stepped back through the looking glass that belonged uniquely to Bowie Kuhn, into the world of reality. And so we can approach tonight's Knicks-Bullets game with some degree of anticipation. A lot of people are in panic, giving up on the Knicks because of the 2 recent defeats. Not this reporter. Willis Reed had a cortisone shot in his damaged knee yesterday. If he can jump tonight, the Knicks will win. The prediction, the Knicks in 6. Up for the game from Baltimore, the new general manager of the Baltimore Colts, Dapper Don Closton. Dapper Don, who will be the new coach of the Baltimore Colts?
Well, we haven't decided as of this date. It's a very difficult decision, as you might understand, because Shula's departure from Baltimore came at a critical time in Baltimore's future, in that we were going to the American Football Conference, new opponents, new players. without a coach. Of course, you are one of the more erudite football critics in all of the United States, and we all respect your opinions.
You've developed an enormous capacity for total truth.
Well, you've taught me one thing, Howard, and that's the philosophy of the fish, and that is, whenever you open your mouth, you get in trouble.
John Cameron Swayze here with just two of the reasons why H&R Block is America's largest income tax service. First, Block will prepare and double-check your return, making sure you receive every legitimate deduction. Second, Block will pay both your penalty and interest if they make an error. H&R Block, the income tax people.
Adam Clayton Powell paid a visit to the People's Y in Harlem today. Doug Johnson reports.
Roger, on March the 3rd, a group of young people took over the YWCA at 316 West 125th Street. They renamed it the People's Y and said they were going to introduce programs that were relevant to the area. Today, there was a news conference at the People's Y. Adam Clayton Powell, who sat beside Barbara Jackson, whose firing prompted the takeover. Powell told reporters the whole YWCA system must be restructured to give it some meaning to the community. Then he told us why he approved of the 125th Street takeover.
As I walked out of here yesterday, a 16-year-old on the elevator said to me, "Mister, you're not going to let us lose this building, are you?" I said, "It's not my power." He said, "Well, if we lose this building, I'll have to go back to 128th and Lenox Avenue, ride around in the big Cadillac, push my junk, and I'm 16 years old, and I've been in prison 3 times already."
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 0.33, with more than 10.5 million shares changing hands. The American Exchange Index was down 6 cents. More than 3 million shares were traded. All he's got to do is smile and I crack up.
And now looking at the weather, here's Tex Antoine.
Thank you, Mr. Grimsby. The last reading in Central Park was a pleasure after today. Temperature 55 degrees. A little bit of sunshine late in the day, but it shot the temperature up 3 degrees. Humidity 75%. We're drying out now. Barometer 2902. Tap yours and set it now, and you'll watch high pressure move in. Southwesterly winds. We're not quite there yet. Still southwest, 12 miles an hour. 3:55 this afternoon, the high for the day, 56 degrees and 55 now. So that's how well we're doing. 2:05 this morning, the low for the day, 37. Average for the day, in spite of what it was, 47. That is 1 degree above normal, 18 more degree days.
And Roger Grimsby used to sign off his newscast with the phrase, "Hoping your news is good news."
We just say you're watching